was homeless at age 13.
Oh, wow.
And being homeless in a country that was in Germany, by the way, where you don't speak the language well, and it's dead cold outside, and having to just go through bins to look for food, or sneaking into metros to sleep because obviously night is coming. I then thought to myself that one day I'll become the biggest property investor that would ever exist.
Hey, what's up YouTube? Thank you very much for tuning in. My name's Gov and welcome to another episode of the Property Newbie Podcast. On this week's show, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Richie Malingo, who I call the female boss. And you'll know why once you start watching this podcast, but her story is just absolutely incredible. From all the struggles that she faced in her younger years growing up, right through to the female entrepreneur, female boss that she's become, as well as becoming an inspiration to so many female as well as male entrepreneurs in the property industry and in business as a whole. Her story is just absolutely phenomenal, and I have the pleasure of sharing that with you guys today. As always, if you enjoy the video, please be sure to hit that like button. Please be sure to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications for more videos like this. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into the show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. 3, 2, 1. Yes, Richie! How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
I can't wait. We were actually just talking, like literally before this show came on, by the way, guys, that you wanted to do more sort of like talking, and sort of like public gigs and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So I had to grab you and get you on the show, man.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah. I remember we spoke about this project a year ago, isn't it?
I know.
The day you called me and said, "Oh, I'm getting everything set up. Just don't tell anyone." I'm like, really? It's like, am I on it? It's like, yeah, here I am now.
100%, man. It was never in doubt. Let's take it all the way back, man, because I know you're not even quite popular. You're very popular in the group, man. Everyone knows Richie,
am
man.
I?
Yeah, man. You're always throwing positivity. You're always sort of like complimenting people. I want to take it back to one moment in time. And it's quite a significant date. So anyone that's watching this or anyone that knows you will know that this was a big date in your life, man. Yeah. Take me back to the 1st of January 2019 and talk me through that moment, because I feel like after that point, everything led you to like literally this moment right now.
Yeah, definitely. That's like you said, that date is something that's just right here. And how did I get to that date? So in 2018, I was working. I had a pretty good career. And at the time, I was living in Reading with my 2 daughters and my ex-partner. But I was not getting anywhere in terms of just going to work for money, coming back and paying bills and not having enough and not being able to take the kids out. It was just pretty hard financially speaking. And I don't know, I had this moment in November 2018 where I just, I had to let go of my past relationship and say, right, that's enough now. I'm done. I know where I'm heading and we're not heading together. I got to do what is right for myself and for the sake of my girls. And December came, we there partying. My brother came from Houston. And that was the 31st of December 2018 going into the 1st of January 2019. And I was like, I don't want 2019 to be like 2018 because I've wasted a lot of time. And I know what I'm capable of. I know my work ethic. I know I can do it. I know I can become that female boss that I've always wanted to become, And I remember I had this glass of wine, right? And I went into my bedroom, took a pen and a paper, started writing down exactly what I wanted to do for 2019.
Love that. Because decisions like this are not made overnight, although they feel like they are. Because suddenly that day comes where you just close down everything and that's it. You start fresh. But was it a while before that you were feeling this way, that you thought, you know what, this is not the life for me? And was there anything in particular? Or was it just you're in a routine and thought, right, that's it, I just need to snap out of this and just sort of make a change for the better?
I think for me, prior to 2019, I've been through a life roller coaster, and mostly a negative life roller coaster. And I've always been the sort of woman, I'll try something new and it would not work. And I'll jump into a new project, it will not work. I'll, find a new employment, then I'll get sacked, or I'll have an argument with my manager. And, I've just been going back and forth. And relationship-wise, I've not done well. It was just pretty hard, really. And I was just so tired of doing the same thing all over again, especially professionally speaking.
Yeah.
And that was that moment. I believe I was having an argument with my ex, and he said something that sparked something in my eyes. He said, "You'll never be anything. You'll never be something." And I'm like, "No, you're wrong. I will be something. I know I will be something." And I think that was the moment as well where I had, because I love challenges, you know. I'm like one of those persons, if you tell me this is not going to work, I need to prove to you that it would work. Yeah. So I think that was that moment as well. But I was just pretty much tired of my past life, and I wanted to do something different.
So take me back to where you're sitting there with your glass of wine, and you're just thinking, right, I want to start fresh.
Yeah.
What were you doing in that moment, and what sort of like came over you? Because I remember you talking about it on a live that you did for the group, which was just amazing.
Thank you.
You were there making notes, making plans.
Yeah.
In that moment, is that what made you want to start things like property? Obviously, we'll get into some of the other ventures that you're doing. Was it that moment that just sort of started everything off for you?
Definitely. That was that moment exactly. Because, I've always been in love with property, and I never knew how to get into property. Back in Africa, I saw my dad, hustling, let's say. I saw him working hard for his family. I saw how he used to buy lands and build houses. And for me, that was quite fascinating. And what was also fascinating was the fact that, you're housing people, you're helping people who don't have a roof over their head. And, I've wanted to do something like that, but I just didn't know how do I start? So I was just noting down property, and then property was actually the first thing I noted on my list. Yeah. And then I remember I said, okay, I need to go through some type of other businesses, but I didn't know what at that time. But property was the first thing I started up with.
I love that. And since then, you've not only just been doing property, you've been doing some other things as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about what else you've been doing?
Yeah, definitely. So how did it start? Because I remember I spoke to my little brother Christian, who introduced himself recently into the group. We sit in there after January, myself, him and his girlfriend Ladan, and he's like, "You look preoccupied, what's going on with you?" I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. It's like, "Oh, I've heard of this guy. Do you want us to go to the property crash course?" I'm like, "Yeah, it could be interesting." Yeah. It's like, it's 3 days though, 2 or 3 days. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I remember I had to skip work, obviously, because I was working at the time. And we went up to Peterborough for 3 days. And I just loved the idea. I didn't know actually at that point that, property had a lot of strategies into it. Yeah. For me, it was just, you buy a house, you renovate it, then you sell it again, then you make the profit, then you do the same thing. I didn't know. For the first time in my life, I heard about LOA, rent to rent, HMO, BT. I'm like, wow, this is quite interesting. And at that particular event, I met my good friend now, Richies, who is actually in another industry, right? And he said to me, "Well, how did you find it?" I was like, "It's good, but you still need some type of capital," because I never understood how people talk about no money down deal when you need, you still need some type of money, right? 100%. And he's like, "Well, I know something that might be of interest to you. Do you want to have a look at it?" And the next day I was in London, and that's the industry of network marketing. And I sat there and I see a bunch of young people walking up the stage, making 30K a month, 50K, 100K. Someone came down from Dubai making a lot of money. I'm thinking, if they can do it, I can do it.
And this comes back to you loving the challenge, isn't it?
That's it. So that was the 24th of February, 2019. Wow. Right? And I remember, and I asked Paulina, my business partner now, and I've asked her, I said, "Paulina, how do I get involved?" She's like, "Well, you just have to sign up here. You pay this amount of money, and then, this is the money that you have to pay." And she looked at me and said, "You want to sign up?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to invest." She's like, "Have you been in the industry before?" I said, "No." She said, "But a lot of people will say spend money. Why are you using the word investing?" I say, "Because this is what a business is. If I see as in spending money, I will not get there." So right there, I signed up and I've been in network marketing for a year now.
We'll get on to sort of a little bit about network marketing, but
Yeah.
was there at any point when you were down in London and you saw these, a lot of them are quite young as well, in their 20s, and they're making 30,000 a day or like 20,000 a week. Was there any part of you that thought, oh, I don't know whether this is actually possible or whether this is just like people just sort of like telling me a story? And if it, well, obviously it isn't, because I know you're doing pretty well. Did you get to network with these people and mingle and mix, and did you sort of like learn how they were doing it?
Yeah. So at first, let me tell you the truth, right? Yeah. When I signed up and I brought out my credit card, I was actually scared because I'm like, is this a scam? Or, you know, a lot of people treat network marketing as a scam. But one thing I had to look at in terms of the research I had made, not about network marketing, but about any sort of ventures, I looked at the timing, I looked at the leadership within that industry at that moment. I looked at, you know, the product and services that we're offering, which I loved the most. And then I looked at the compensation plan as well. Okay. That was what was really caught my attention. I was like, you can make money like that, and on top of it, you still get money. Yeah. Not like to you, the first 8 months, I didn't make any money at all because I was just learning the skill set of network marketing, and it was very hard. Network marketing at first is hard, then it gets easy when you get to know the industry well. I thought so, and then I started networking with a lot of them. My mentor was actually 22 now. His name is Sahil. Oh. He actually started in the industry. He was introduced by his teacher at the age of 16, I believe, and made his first 6-figure, I believe, at the age of 18 or 19 or even 17. I'm not sure yet. He's making a lot of money now. So he's the one who actually taught me the skill set. And I have a lot of them, Alicia, Paulina, Cliff, and, you know, so yeah. And seeing the bank account actually made me think like, okay, so you're actually guys making money. I can make money as well.
90% of the proof is actually just seeing that they actually have the funds that they're talking about, and to actually see that money come in. Now, obviously, where that money comes from, we can only assume that obviously they're getting it from their business. But to actually physically see it is amazing. It's amazing. But for anyone that doesn't know, give us a sort of brief description of, or just a little bit of detail on what network marketing is, because obviously a lot of us are in sort of the property industry. I know you're doing a bit of network marketing. In a nutshell, what is network marketing? So
network marketing is a company where you get involved and become a business owner, right? Okay. So you buy a license, obviously, because you have to get involved with people's names and address and stuff like that, and you get to do a lot of things. One, you can just be a customer or be a member. I'm a member. A customer is simply someone who uses the products. Like we got trading, you got the travel and tourism part, and we got a lot of products coming up as well in the next few weeks. You know, our own telecommunication product and transportation, and you know, it's a platform actually which teaches people the skill set of learning something new and earning at the same time. I like that. For example, me now, I've fallen in love with trading, you know, something that I thought in the past was just a headache, seeing all of this candles and charts. But now what I'm doing, I'm actually learning the skill set. I'm actually learning how to become a good trader, you know, and at the same time, I'm earning money by just copying the signals, you know, and entering my trade. So that is it in a nutshell. Yeah.
I like that. So bringing it back to property, how has your properties journey progressed over the last sort of like year and a half? What have been like your highlights? What have been like your low points? Talk us through like the journey. I know it's only a brief journey of a year and a half, but we kind of started at exactly the same time, because I literally started January the 1st, 2019 as well, and I actually left my job in July 2019. But I know we started around the same time. So how has your journey in property been?
It's been good, honestly. I can say that I've gained a lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge when it comes to property. I'm quite confident, you know, talking about it and teaching as well, and just mentoring someone, you know, when someone comes on board and say, I don't know where to start, then can pretty have a conversation with that person. With the first, let's say, because I started really my property journey in June 2019, because prior to that, I was just educating myself. And from, let's say, that time till maybe sort of October 2019, it was just me educating myself. Then I kind of stopped a little bit, went into network marketing, and then January hit, and then COVID-19 hit. So, but I've not been able to, so far I've not been able to acquire a property due to some circumstances that I've been going through. But in terms of like my journey and learning property, I pretty know exactly what I want to do because of the knowledge that I have right now. So it's been amazing.
To be honest with you, property is such a long game.
There's
actually a question which one of the newbies asked Aya. So if you're watching this, Aya, thank you very much.
Hi, Aya.
Everyone loves
I love Aya.
I need to get her on actually, talk about like...
she needs to be here. She's such a powerful woman.
Positive,
I love her.
She asked a question actually, so I'll kind of ask it you now. When the biggest thing about property, and this is what I was talking to the Fontaine brothers about, was your lows when you're constantly getting rejected, you're constantly getting beat down, even when you have a tiny bit of success. And don't get me wrong, in some respects, all business is like that. But property is literally when you've got agents on the side of the line and they don't fully understand what you're doing and you're constantly trying to sell. It takes a hell of a lot of practice. So the question that she was asking was, how do you remain positive despite all of the objections, all of the knockbacks and everything that comes with starting a property business?
Pretty simple for me. It's just that I remember why I started this. And the reason why I started property is because I used to be homeless. I was homeless at age 13.
Oh, wow.
And being homeless in a country where, that was in Germany, by the way, where you don't speak the language well and it's dead cold outside, and having to just go through bins to go through to look for food, or sneaking into metros to sleep because obviously night is coming. I then thought to myself that one day I'll become the biggest property investor that would ever exist. And the fact that I have 2 daughters now as well, that's just like my strongest reason why. I just remember why I started this. 1, because of my daughters, and 2, because of all of this homeless that I see outside. Because it's funny, because I was talking to George, by the way, if George is watching this, I was talking to George about a week and a half ago, and I said to him, George, the reason why I want to do this is because I used to be homeless. I know how it feels like to sleep outside. I know how it feels like to not have a roof over your head and being seen as this little piece of paper. So that's what I remember. Even though I get these objections all the time, I just remember why I started.
See, that's incredibly powerful, man. 13 years old, being homeless, being in a country where you can't speak the language. Did you have any sort of friends and family around in Germany at the time, or was it, what was your relationship like with them? Or
so I was actually living with one of my aunts, and at the time, me coming from an African background, I don't know if I'm not talking for anybody else, but I didn't have a good experience living in a house. And some African people would say, they would always use witchcraft as an excuse, I remember her husband tried to abuse me sexually, and I reported it to her, and she didn't believe me. And the next thing you know, I was asked to leave her place. And at the time, I didn't have a lot of friends, but I knew a girl, Hannah, at the time. She was living in an orphanage. And me being the woman, the little girl I didn't have any money, of course. So I spent a few weeks outside, and then one day I was begging for money, and this guy gave me €2 at the time. And the first thing that came into my mind is like, okay, where's the phone booth? And I knew her number by heart, right? So I went into a phone booth. I called her. I was like, Hannah, I've been on the street for like a couple of weeks. Can you take me? And she's like, well, I can't really do it, because she was my age at the time as well. She's like, I can't do it, but I can sneak you in through the window. You can sleep in my bedroom, and I'll try and see if I can talk to someone. So that was the only one I knew at the time, and she saved my life because I think she hid me in a bedroom for like 2 days, up until one of the staff kind of found out that I was there. And then they took me in. And that's how I ended up living in that orphanage for 6 years.
Blown away, man. Like I said, to be 13, to have everything go on at home, to be in a situation where, like, obviously your family didn't believe you at the time, forced you out, and your first £2 or €2 rather than spend it on food or anything was, I need to ring my friend and be taken in.
Yeah.
And then obviously snuck you in, but then the orphanage took you on sort of anyway. What was it like from that period? What did you do from sort of like 13 and for those 6 years? Were you just sort of like bouncing around from like job to job? Were you just in the orphanage? What were you doing in that time?
I became a party animal.
Became a party
Oh,
animal.
definitely. Drinking massively, smoking, dressing inappropriately. I didn't have any guidance. You can imagine, because what had happened at that in that orphanage was that when I turned, I think 2 years later, when I turned 15, I was sexually abused, you know? So it messes you up. You know, your mom and dad lives 8,000 kilometers away, and you just have a roof over your head because someone else is looking after you. And you can imagine those staff, they look after you only during the day. During the night, someone is there, but it's not really there to look after you. So after that moment, I was messed up.
Yeah.
I was definitely messed up. Honestly.
How do you go from being, because obviously it's understandable the path that you took. It's only naturally so when you're put in that situation, you have all these bad things happen to you. It's almost hard to snap out and think positively because you've got so much sort of probably almost anger, upset, a lot
rage,
of rage, a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And often in our life, things such as the drinking, the going out, even the wrong crowds at the time is a little bit of an escape. But how do you snap yourself out of that downward spiral? Because obviously you're not partying now.
No.
You're not drinking.
No.
Do you know what I mean? How do you go from that and sort of snap yourself out of it and realize, well, you know what, I can actually do better than what I'm doing right now? I
think that was a time where my good friend, you know, she was living at home, of course, with her parents, and you know, she was doing good. And one day she invited me in, and her mom sat me down and started talking to me and said, "You're a beautiful girl. You know, you got so much things to do in life, and you can't be doing this. You don't want to die off of drinking or smoking. You know, you got to do better for yourself." So they started taking me in every weekend so that they can give me a family.
Okay.
And provide me with the love and affection I was lacking. So they had to sign an agreement between the orphanage and them to let them know that every weekend I will go to their place. So I will stay with Nadine and her mom from Friday to Sunday evening. And I think that saved me as well from doing a lot of BS on the street, you know?
Yeah.
And I believe a year before I left Germany, I became clean. You know, it's clean in a way where I stopped partying. I started running. I fell in love with sport. I was playing basketball. I was swimming. I was running. And, you know, I started reading books. And then Nadine, who was she's always been like this A student, right? Yeah. So I started following. I kind of like copying and pasting, right? Because she was doing so well. She's been a massive inspiration in my life. And when I left Germany, and had to go back to Africa, then relocated to England, I thought, I got to do something better. Yeah.
See, this is where I feel like I can sort of piece things together, and the audience probably will as well. One of the things that you were talking to George about was obviously starting a homeless charity at some point, and a lot of that now sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any give us some details about what you'd want to do in terms of the charity when you do set it up?
So my idea is to remove the homeless from the street, because I don't like the way they're being treated. I don't like the way they're being seen in a society. It's difficult for them. Yeah, some of them get helped, but some of them don't get reintegrated into the society and, you know, sort of being given that guidance to help them become that somebody. Don't get me wrong, some people out there, maybe harsh to say, some of them deserve to be on the street, but they've gotten themselves there. But, you know, sometimes I'll talk to people who say, I used to be married, I got a divorce and I lost everything, now I hear, or I lost my employment, or I used to drink, or anything. So I would like to acquire so much properties and then maybe work with the councils in different areas across the UK just to rehouse them, and then sort of have some volunteers to come in and help getting them checked out. It's funny because I talked to George about it as well, and George was just talking about everyone's like, George, that's my idea. It's like, okay, Richie, let's just do it in a few years. You know, reintegrating them into the society, maybe through a job or a business, anything like that. Yeah.
What was it like when, if we go back to sort of January 2019, the first moment your sort of life pretty much changed and you're on this path now. What was it like trying to tell your friends and family or the people that are closest to you that, guys, this is what I want to do now.
Oh my God.
This is my ideas. Like, what do you think, or are you going to support me? How was that conversation? Because I know that's always the hardest bit.
I thought I was crazy.
Really?
Definitely thought I was crazy. I was working at the time. I had such a good job, right? A job that could fly me from continent to continent and pay for my trips and stay at 5-star hotels and foods and everything was free. And they're like, are you crazy? Because my idea was to go into entrepreneurship as a part-timer, right? And then once the money start coming in and flowing in, resign from my job and then, do it full time. But it didn't happen as I was hoping. So I ended up losing my job 6 months later. But my friends thought I was crazy. One of my friends even said, I don't know, I don't think I'll be able to talk you out of it because you're stubborn as hell. And I was like, I know I can do it. I know it might not be easy at first, but I can do it. My parents on the other side, oh my goodness. I didn't tell my parents up until maybe 6 months later. Even when I lost my job, my dad didn't know. I was lying to my dad. Sorry, Daddy. I was lying to him. He would call us like, oh, where are you this time? I'm like, no, I mean, there's no trips these days, Daddy. Oh, why? I'm like, I don't know. They just haven't scheduled anything. I mean, I'm just working from home and the office in Reading. And then one day he called me. He's like, you've not been traveling for a while now. What's been happening? I was like, okay, Daddy, I lost my job a couple of months ago. Wow, what are you doing now? And I started talking to him about this entrepreneurship. He's like, this is not right. I didn't send you to Europe to do that. I'm like, Daddy, I'm going to make it. No, you will not. Daddy, I'm going to be the first millionaire in the Malingos family. No, you will not. I don't want to talk to you anymore. So that was the conversation. They didn't support me at first. Honestly, even my mom. I guess what I'm thinking about is now, I guess it was more them fearing about me losing track of life. I don't know. Maybe fearing that I would not be able to
it's
come
weird.
out of it. Yeah.
Because I think this is where like our cultures overlap, and maybe it's a cultural thing, maybe it's a generation thing.
Yeah.
But obviously one of the posts where we actually first started talking was I put something in a group and I was like, look, I go, my mates don't understand what I'm doing. My parents don't understand what I'm doing. Like this property game and probably just business as a whole is such a lonely place.
It is.
Who do you talk to? And then the only people you end up really connecting with and pushing you are the people in property.
Yeah.
But even to this day, I don't know what it's like for yourself, but like parents, unless you're making like 10,000 a week in your first week, like they're like, what are you doing? Like, and part of it is a love and care for you because they don't want to see you struggle.
True.
But then part of it is because, and this is not representing the whole generation, but a lot of the generation was so traditional in go to work, get a job, get married, X number of kids, and that's your life for until you're 60, 65, retire, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then there's got our generation that coming through going, Dad, I want to be a millionaire. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. It's the same with me as well. I mean, sometimes I will call my dad or my mom. I was like, Mom, can you help out? It's like, oh, I thought you were an entrepreneur. They sort of mock you. But I guess it's the way society has conditioned them to be. And it's something they would not understand. And I keep telling them, I say, just have faith in me. If you really do love me, and I know you do, have faith in me. And my mom, she's now, whenever she sees me posting stuff, she's like, can you send me that? I'm going to post it as well. And they're not being supportive. Yeah, it's only now they're being supportive. Yeah,
it's kind of funny because their resistance actually ends up weighing you down quite a lot. So I don't know about your, like, obviously your situation, but when your parents aren't fully behind you or they're doubting you, then all of a sudden you start doubting yourself. Can I do it? Are they right? And then as soon as they get behind you, then there's literally feels like there's nothing.
That's very true.
There's nothing that stops you.
I remember when I came back from Costa Rica last year and I went to launch the network marketing company I'm involved in. And, you know, we made a stop in Madrid. So I called my dad and I was like, because he follows me on social media. Like, I see you, Daddy. I see him. And, you know, as soon as I land and he texts me, he's like, oh, you in Madrid now? I'm like, oh, so he's spying on me now. So I called him. He was like, so how was it? I was like, yeah, it was good, Daddy. And, you know, I really liked it. For the first time, I had a relief when my daddy said, I'm fully behind you.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, my goodness. I remember I was with my business partners and we're walking out and, you know, trying to find a place to sit down. I just stopped with my suitcase and, you know, tears streaming down my eye, my face. And then I'm like, really, Daddy? It's like, I know you can. I know you're capable of doing it. You're just like me. You're the version of myself. When you say that, I'm like, right, Mr. Malingo, I'm going to show it to you. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And now when I have my down moments, I call my dad, you know. And when my dad calls me, he knows that I'm not pick up. He knows I'm working. When I pick up, he says, what did you pick up? You know, in a meeting? It's like, no, Daddy, I had a 5 minute. Okay. I just wanted to say hi, bye. So it's beautiful to have them behind you and support you. Yeah.
Nah, I love that. It's like I said, once they get behind you wholeheartedly, it's different.
Yeah.
But what's it like, sort of like culturally, like in culturally, I can't even get the word out, culturally, in terms of like having female entrepreneurs? Do you have many of them in your family? Is it something that's sort of like doesn't really happen, or is it very traditional in terms of like, you know, women go to work, get married, settle down, have kids? What's it like in sort of like culture?
It's very rare. I right now, it's a good question because now you're getting me thinking. I'm looking at my dad's family side and my side. We have a lot of strong women, but they had to do what society had. I had their parent condition them to be for them to become those women of today. Yeah. And part of it is, you know, go to school, go to uni, get married, have kids, buy a house, have a mortgage, and they're doing well. I mean, in my family, both sides, I have a lot of pilots, engineers, doctors, and, you know, living in big houses. They're doing pretty well. I guess I am the first one, if I'm not mistaken myself. Yeah. And it's at first, it's very difficult because people look at you and like, how could you? Really? Yeah. You know, I remember I was talking to my cousin back in Glasgow and she's like, you sure you want to do it? I'm like, yes. What about your dad? What are they saying? I don't think, especially in the Congolese community, I have not come across, I know there are a lot of Congolese women out there like myself or even more than what I do. I know it, but I've not really met them or heard their story or speaking to them. But I know it's a very rare thing at this point. That's just my own observation. Maybe I'm living in my own bubble, but I know what it's like to be a Congolese African woman growing up in a family where you've been dictated. Your life is dictated actually to you and you have to do what you've been told. And me being me now, I still have a lot of uncles that don't talk to me. So I'm cool with that.
You're just unstoppable now, isn't it?
Yeah, no one is stopping me. No, not at all.
Especially when you get like your dad's support behind you as well. And sometimes it's a little bit of parents are there to test how serious you are. Yeah. And he might have pressed you. And if you turned around and said, oh, actually, Dad, you're right. Yeah. And then you just crumbled, then you would have just gone back to your job. But the fact that you persisted to say, Dad, this is what I want to do. Yeah. I want to do it. And then he's like, you know what? I can see it. I want to do it. Yeah. And sometimes it's just making those small little progresses that you can show and say, look, this is the path that I'm going down. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. And then just keeping them involved in it. Yeah. It does make a huge difference. I was going to talk a little bit more, but I've had some amazing questions from a lot of these property newbies. So I'm going to let them take the stage. But
all right, cool.
obviously, as usual, we put a thread out before, obviously, Richie come on, and with anyone else as well. And if anyone's got any questions, they can just DM in, or they can just drop me a comment or a private message. But some of these questions are amazing. So I actually just want to jump straight into
Please
them.
do.
Big shout out to the newbies that threw their questions in, by the way.
Hi, everyone.
You're going to recognize every single one of these. So this is a really good question, and something which I'm sort of curious as well. You have a lot going on in terms of your business life and the things that you want to do and will be doing. I've no doubt about that. But how do you juggle your children, your own personal development, which is something that you focus a lot on, actually, your own personal growth and development, a lot of reading, as well as managing your business ambitions? How do you manage all of these and just find time for it all? How do you juggle it?
I guess with me, the first thing I would say is just a matter of, first of all, you got to know what you want to do. I have a lot of things I want to accomplish before God takes me away. A lot of things. But then I have to prioritize, right? My first priority is my children, right? Yeah. Without my children, if I don't do it properly, I will mess up everything. Yeah. So I think it's a matter of being just organized and disciplined. There's a lot of organization that goes into my daily routine, a lot, right? And for me right now, what I'm focusing on is, with the lockdown, of course, I have my network marketing, business. I have the trading that I'm focusing on as well as property. Well, property, not really too much because of what is going on. Yeah. But I just have to be up early and go to bed late.
Do you have a morning routine, or do you find that routines are important, or do you just go with how your day is going?
I cannot do it without a routine.
Really?
I cannot.
What does your routine look like?
Oh my God. I was talking to Lily about it, by the way. Hi Lilia. I have a schedule. I have an app that I use. And I think I've shared that with some of the newbie guys as well. So my partner and I and myself keep ourselves accountable. Okay. So I have to plan my days the night before. So my morning routine usually, if it goes well, I usually would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow. And I start with my prayer first. Then I meditate. Then I do my workout for half an hour. Then I do my affirmations. I watch some motivational videos. And then the last thing I'll do a 30 minutes reading. And then from 8 till 9, I start trading and learning how to trade. From 9 to 10, that's my time with the girls. So that's when they wake up, right? And dressing them up, breakfast, spending time with them. And they also have their own routine, by the way, because I cannot sit there and having a meeting, having them around. Sometimes they don't obey that, but it's very difficult. Then from 10 sharp, this is me now going into my meetings, calling people, just, do what I have to do. And I take a break sort of around 3 p.m. I spend an hour time with them. That's, walking outside or watching TV and being the silly mommy. And then at 4, go back again till 6. From 6 to 8, it's my break to go for dinner, shower, bedtime story, making sure the house is tidied up. At 8 sharp when they're in bed, I go back into my business again till probably 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's crazy.
And that's like this every day. I mean, I've become consistent with it now. At first, it was very difficult because sometimes I was just like, I can't be bothered. But with me delaying that, I don't see the results. So I have to keep up with it. Yeah. I have to. Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
I love the fact that you don't sacrifice one or the other. Yeah. You just say, well, you know what? I need more hours in the day. Yeah. So I would personally find it hard to juggle kids and then trying to get as much work done as possible. But you just wake up early, spend a bit of you time, spend some time with the kids, work on your business. Right, kids, it's time to go to bed now because I need to work on my business some more. Yeah. And then from 8 till 2, it's insane.
And one of the things that's also worked for me, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some other mothers can listen to this, is that I have to have a good communication I have to talk to my daughters. You know, my first one is turning 10 at the end of the month, so she understands. You know, my little one is free. She's, you know her. She's full of energy. She's a crazy one. But, you know, I have to sit them down and say, right, mommy has a lot of meetings. And they know now. Whenever my daughters see me outside 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock sitting down, they turn around and say, don't you have any meetings, mommy? So I know they not understand. So I have to also get them involved because they're part of my life. I can't just leave them out. They have to understand mommy's running a business. This is the business she's running. I have to break it down to them. They pretty much understand how network marketing works and property and trading. You know, my little one called it charts. You know, she's like, those lines, mommy? I'm like, yeah, mommy's doing the lines now, so quiet. So I have to explain it to them. And it's been working. I mean, yeah.
You know what I like about that? And obviously this is slightly off topic, that your 2 daughters are going to grow up seeing their mum like have just totally absorbed in entrepreneurship and just wanting to make money in so many different little ways. And obviously they don't know at the time because they're just kids that obviously it's all for them as well as yourself. But having you as like a role model, it's just going to be amazing for them when they grow up.
I can't wait for that.
Is it the little one? She's going to be trouble, man. You need to keep your eye on her.
Is.
And this ties in with what Steve's asking. So big up, Steve. He goes, how did you develop this love for entrepreneurship? Did you just start business and then you just fell in love with it? Or did you always feel like you had this bit of entrepreneurship in you and it's only sort of recently you've been able to sort of get it out there in the little businesses that you do?
I think it's a bit of both. I've always had, you know, those voices in my head telling me that I could do more than what I was doing, you know. And when I started this journey, I was not in love with this journey because I didn't know what to expect. So it's only when I really started to discover what it is to be an entrepreneur and, you know, networking with people and, you know, talking and being invited, you know, at different type of events and seeing how people were doing or how they started. I'm like, this is amazing. I want to do that. But it takes a lot to be where I am today. It took me a lot. Because one thing that really helped me to be here is just my mindset. My mindset had to be shifted, and my mindset has shifted massively, and I'm still working on it. You know, because sometimes, for example, one thing that I talk to my partner about is when I have my down moment, I just stop everything. And I remember one day, because he woke me up and I was going for a run, and it was raining outside. And it's like, so time for a run now. Up. I'm like, oh, it's raining outside. It's like, okay, cool, fine. Just remember that you are where you are because of the decision that you make. That hit me hard. And I was like, okay, cool. I stood up and I still went for a run. You know, so you got to work on that constantly. And it's a life of an entrepreneurship. And I love this journey now.
I think it's nice that you say that, because when you started to go down to London and you started to be involved in different circles who just had an open mind about everything, that probably helped get you into the sort of mindset of, okay, you know what, anything is possible. I've got kids that are making money. I've got people that are a little bit older that are just building a legacy.
Exactly.
I want a piece of that. So that's amazing. I've got a couple more questions actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, these questions are amazing. I don't even know why I'm here, man. I should just be sat on that sofa and I should let you guys ask the questions, innit? So with everything that's going on in the world, obviously George Floyd, everyone knows about that story. Black Lives Matter, and all of that. I've had a really good question that's come in from Izzy, and he said, as a young black woman, have you ever faced any sort of like either gender or sort of like racial discrimination or prejudices that have happened to you in business? And if you have you been able to overcome them, or how have you overcome them?
Definitely have. One thing I have to state is, you know, I can only talk from where I come from, and, you know, the color I have, because obviously that's what I've experienced in the past as well. And in business, I definitely have. When I remember when I was starting, I didn't know how to open up my company, and I was going through different type of avenues and calling people and talking to people. And I remember I was talking to this guy who said, "Oh, did you know that it would not be easy for you to do so?" And I'm thinking, this is me. I think it was February, just after that course that I went to, the property course I went to. And I'm like, "Oh, how so?" It's like, "Well, it's gonna cost you a lot of money, and what passport do you have?" I'm like, "Well, I have a British passport." "Oh, so you're British, right?" I was like, "Yeah." "So where are you from?" I'm like, "From Wolverhampton." I didn't actually know how to answer that question. The guy was pretty harsh with me on the phone and said, "No, I mean originally." I'm thinking, wow. Originally from Congo. "Oh, well, it's going to be a bit hard because, third country." And I'm thinking, wow. I've never heard of it. Then I remembered during that course, I had met a woman who was an accountant, and she had given me her number. So I texted her and I said, "How easy is it to open up a limited company?" She's like, "Oh, pretty easy. In less than 24 hours, you got a company. You just have to register it." I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, why?" I was like, "Oh, I've been taught to." She's like, "No, I never heard of such things." So I definitely have. It pretty hit me, to be honest with you, because, it's a scary thing, sometimes.
It's weird that obviously we could have a whole podcast on race, religion, culture. That although it's a statement that's always thrown out there, we're in the 21st century. I can never put myself in your shoes. I can never say that I've experienced what you've experienced. But what I can say sometimes is a lot of this happens so subtly that it's not blatant. You may not necessarily always be called out on the street. It could be how you're treated in certain situations, how you're treated at work. But then how do you handle a situation and just not go crazy? Because it's so easy to be angry in a situation like that, and to keep your cool and still be professional, still be calm, not lose you. It's just amazing. I
think for me, I just have to remember why. At that time, I just had to remember why I wanted it. I didn't want to give him what he wanted from me. I didn't want to give that power to him. I'm a beautiful black woman, and I stand for it. And no one is taking me down just because you feel some sort of way. I could have been white, Asian, anything, but you cannot take that away from me. I am me, and there is a reason why I am me. It doesn't matter the color I have, I don't know how to be honest with you, I don't even know how I remained calm that day, because I remember I was getting red that day. I was really, really upset. But I guess it's just the person I'm also becoming. I try to just stay positive in every challenges that I'm encountering. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's quite nice, because I think without you realizing it, and a lot of people would agree with you, you might know this or you might not, with everything that you've been through in your life, from your childhood days, from 13, and everything that you went on with sort of like your family, being homeless, going down the wrong path and then snapping out of it. You're a massive inspiration to a lot of women in business.
Thank you.
I get messages all the time, and well, actually not even messages all the time. The best example of this is when you jumped on a live feed for the Property Newbies group. So for anyone that's watching this for the first time, obviously we've got a Facebook group where we ask newbies to property and business to jump on a live feed, just share their story, why they're in property. The amount of messages and love that I got after for people, for women saying, "Richie's inspired me. She's inspired me to do this. Richie's inspired me to do that. You got two ladies to get out of their comfort zone and go, after Richie's done that live, I want to jump on."
That's amazing.
It's just absolutely incredible. And I think this is almost a statement more than a question from Gwyn Thomas. It's amazing.
I love Gwyn.
Gwyn's amazing.
I love so much.
He was on the show last week, man. He's incredible.
He's a legend.
He goes, you're so strong and so powerful in terms of everything that you've achieved. And he said, "Do you think you're an inspiration for African females in the business world?" I don't even think you need to think about that. Like you pretty much are an inspiration, everything that you've been through. Would you ever consider doing more things like how, as we started the podcast, more sort of like speaking gigs, more sort of like just maybe even just like one-to-one group gatherings and just share your story with other people because it's so inspiring?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. The reason why I, from property to network marketing, from network marketing to starting to being invited at, such podcasts and interviews, and it kind of opened my eyes to help other women out there, because I know where I come from in terms of like my experiences, and I know that I cannot be silent anymore, because there are a lot of women out there, because I used to be like them, that don't have a voice, or they're just scared to speak out. And I want to be there for them. I want to say to them,
I love that.
I've been there where you are, or probably not where you are right now, but I sort of kind of experienced domestic violence, sexual violence, being homeless, or anything else. And you can do better. You definitely can do better. I want to empower them, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I just want to go for it. Yeah,
I love that. And to be honest with you, this is another. So Benjamin, thanks for your question. But again, it's it's more of a statement. He just said, look, he goes, you're considered an inspiration by so many people. So he just wanted to give you a shout out for that.
Thank you, Benjamin.
This is a really good question, and this is from Claire. So Claire, thank you for the question.
Oh, she's a darling.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's day one as well.
Oh,
day one newbie, man. This is a question that I think a lot of people should be asking themselves. So I'm curious to see your answer. She said, what do you want to be remembered for? So when all is said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
For me, I want to be the face of many women worldwide. I want them to remember me as this woman who had suffered a lot, but she's still been able to make it no matter what, no matter her race, her religion, where she came from, and everything that she had been put through, but she still came out of it. I want to be able to empower them and tell them that you can be more, you can become more. And, I just want to also be remembered for helping a lot of people. I've been, the reason why I consider myself having a big heart, and that is just not to brag about it, but that is just because I've been in situations where I had no one to help me, and I know how it feels like to be hungry, or not having a roof over your head, or just lacking any sort of support. So I want to be able to just be there for those in need.
One thing that we always say, and there's going to be like 1,400 newbies that are going to be watching this.
Okay.
You're literally like Miss Positive, like in every situation. Like,
Thank you.
It doesn't matter what anyone's going through. You're always there. You always give your time up. You're always giving support. You're always giving help. And that's how we first ever got talking. Like this time last year, when I was like, look, I don't know what to do, man. I'm like, I'm here on my own. And you were like, don't worry, Gov, you got this.
Yeah.
You need anything, let me know. And you're just this like a ray of sunshine, man. But
thank you.
It's amazing how strong your mindset is, and like I said, you focus on your business, you got your kids, and you still make time to help other people. It's just honestly, you're just crazy inspirational, I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Last question from myself. I wanted to ask you, what is the future? What future goals do you have? Do you have certain number of tick boxes that you want to like tick off in the next couple of years, or what does the future for Richie hold? Talk to me.
Definitely becoming wealthy in order to give back.
Yeah. Because
I'm not intending to become wealthy and being one of the selfish entrepreneurs. That's just not me. I'm pretty down on earth woman. I want to be able to. One of the projects that I really have in mind is to open up a charity for vulnerable women, helping the homeless. That's definitely something on my mind, and it's always there. And in order for me to achieve that, I have a lot of business project I want to get into that's going to generate that money in order for me to take that and leverage it into, my charities. And one day, I'm giving myself 10 years, or even less than that. I want to be recognized on Forbes as one of the African, one of the powerful female boss Congolese, African, British woman. I really would want that. Yeah.
That is goals, man. And just for the record, she's promised to give me $1 million. Richie, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what sort of like the best way? Is it like Facebook? Have you got an Insta? If people wanted to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook on the Richie P Malingo. Same with Instagram.
Yeah.
Feel free to DM me. I'm always on my phone.
We'll put links to everything in the description.
Yeah.
Just from myself, just to wrap it up, I just want to say, like I said, I've known you pretty much about a year now. It feels like forever. I can't even say a year.
Yeah.
Just the type of person that you are. You're so selfless in everything that you do. You're just always giving. You're always helping. You're always supporting. You're the first person to comment. You're the first person to ring someone up. And still to have that time and energy to be able to want to help other people. It's just your future's just gonna be insane. And you want to do all of that. You want to start a homeless charity. You want to help with vulnerable women. You want to empower women. That's why I call you the female boss, because you are. I just think your future is going to be so incredible, and the network that you're building around you, like there's not one person that I know that doesn't say amazing things about you. So it just goes to show what type of character you are, man. I said this with the Fontaine brothers. Your experiences in your past tend to affect your future and where you end up. But what you do with those experiences can be good or bad. And that's not saying one is right or wrong. It's just some people handle things differently.
Yeah.
But to go through everything that you went through and to be such an inspiration to like everyone, it's just, honestly, I take my hat off to you. So
thank you.
I just want to say, obviously, this is just like a normal catch up for us anyway.
Yeah, it is,
this is not like I'm never going to see you again, innit? But honestly, I just want to say from myself and all of these newbies, as these comments say, man, I just wish you literally everything moving forward. I honestly do.
I would like to,
yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Course. One thing I would say though is I have not gotten here by myself. I don't believe in self-made millionaires or entrepreneurs. And my strongest support, and I'm not saying that because you sit in here, it's been you. Remember that time I would call you and stop crying on the phone? And I didn't, guys, I didn't even know Gov that well like I know him today, but I would just call him and say, I cannot do anymore. You've been my biggest support from day one, from that comment to where we are today. So thank you. And the family you created, the Property Newbies group, I mean, we've gone from seeing ourselves in a little circle to now becoming brothers and sisters. You know, they've been my support. I mean, I would read a comment and I was like, oh, so he also going through a lot. Oh, she's also going through a lot. You know, I've connected with Aya and then she shared her story. I'm like, no, really? And just to have those people around me helped me a lot. So shout out to the Property Newbies. You guys are my inspiration and I love you guys. I love you guys a lot.
It's so amazing to go from a group that started off as like 10 of us to now you can walk into a room of 100 people. And every single person knows each other. It's just insane.
It's amazing.
But like you said, we all vibe and help each other. But you're so humble in that sense. So I thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
But yeah, can we raise a glass to the podcast? Thank you for your time, Richie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, like I said.
Thank you.
To future podcasts.
To future podcasts.
Guys,
can't wait.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video and you'll probably agree that was incredibly inspiring. So if you did like the video, please be sure to like, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications for more videos like this. And if you're interested in either appearing on the show or you're interested in property investing, then feel free to join our Facebook group, Property Newbies, where you'll be surrounded by individuals who are all in the same boat, all interested in property investing, and you'll have access to a ton of free resources as well as be amongst a friendly property community. Finally, if you're interested in setting your own podcast studio, I've put links to all the equipment that I use in the description below, so feel free to check that out. But until next time, peace out.